What's up, everyone? Today we're talking about the deepest, most unknowable dungeon created by KAKERU. And this manga is kind of a mixed bag, and let's just kind of jump right into it. So this manga is an isekai, right? But the main character doesn't get this crazy power fantasy ability of some nutty magic power that lets him immediately destroy everything. Rather, the main character's power is the fact that he's a grown man in a kid's body, and so he has the knowledge and experience that comes with something like that. I thought that this was a cool take, and it reminded me of something like Mushoku Tensei and how grounded it is. And that's something that's going to be a theme in this manga, is the groundedness in reality somewhat for the fantasy setting, which I think is something that's unique and kind of sets it apart from other things. So at the beginning of the story, our main character is kind of the typical shonen protagonist in his mentality, where he's excited for battle and adventure, and he has this idea of what combat and war is going to be. But the manga quickly flips this on its head when the main character has his first combat experience, where he's almost killed by an emaciated goblin, and he realizes that fighting against another living being isn't as simple as raising your sword and taking it out, but it's a real life or death struggle where there are no guarantees. And this moment fundamentally flips the main character's philosophy on its head, and it turns him into a more reasonable and well-adjusted person, which was something that kind of endeared me to the story and I thought was pretty unique. Something else about our main character is that he has a soft spot for women, and in this story it's of particular importance because the distinctions between men and women in this world are very significant, and it's in accordance to what the values were a lot in medieval times. And it's also something that's kind of sparked a bit of controversy in this manga as well. I personally would like to see the author use the main character's sensibilities and lustfulness as a sort of point of tragedy. I think that could be a very interesting character arc and developmental piece for what happens to our MC, but I don't know if that's the direction that this is going to go. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but I wanted to bring that up because the MC soft spot for women is something that seems like it's going to play a role in how things pan out. One thing that I think is really going to make people's mileage vary on how much they enjoy this manga is how much you enjoy world building, because the author goes into ridiculously excruciating amounts of details about seemingly innocuous and random things. For example, there's like a 6 to 8 page dialogue on just the mechanics of crossbows, how they work, their usefulness as opposed to bows and swords, and it's a lot, right? And for some people, I think those that are very into the subject are going to find a lot to love with this, but this could also be something that really puts some people off. They might find it boring, they might find it unnecessary, but it seems to be a part of KAKERU's style in this manga, and your ability to read through moments like this and how much you really enjoy the more detailed aspects of world building in manga and fiction is going to make a huge difference in how much you end up liking this thing or not. While I probably could have done without the 6 to 8 pages talking about crossbows, one thing I did like was how this manga treats the reality of combat. We spoke about it briefly earlier in the main character's fight with the goblin, but KAKERU shines a light on how combat is not a simple idealized affair where just the physically strongest always come out on top. He takes his time to identify how rank and file goblins can kill the inexperienced due to their craftiness, their battle IQ, and how their animal instincts make them a much more dangerous enemy than people often give them credit for. Dialogue in the manga can explore how combat is a lot more like hide and seek than it is the romantic idealized depictions of war that was often seen in fiction, with deception, subterfuge, and the element of surprise often meaning the difference between life and death, rather than these valiant and chivalrous knights all looking each other in the eye as they stab each other to death. The reality of combat and successful combat is much different, and craftiness and guerrilla warfare is often the way to go. But above all, I think the main thing that has made people's mileage vary so much on this manga is its depictions of women. In the most unknowable dungeon, KAKERU has crafted a world that has a very traditional perspective on the role of women in combat. Women are seen as liabilities, to be honest, with one man being viewed as being worth multiple women when it comes to a combat situation. There are multiple sections in the manga that go into this in detail, exploring how if a man gets hurt in a dungeon, a woman is likely not going to be able to carry him out. So that's why the strongest parties with the most gifted fighters are often male only, or maybe they have a single woman because they feel that men are more valuable on the chance that an injury should occur when it comes to fighting off monsters, and that they can just do more in these situations that require physical strength than what a woman is likely able to provide. And outside of significant exceptions in the story, women are seen to have more value as the party wife, taking care of housekeeping duties as well as keeping the male party members company on their difficult journeys. There's a character in the story that is female and embodies a lot of the more modern sensibilities when it comes to the powers and the capabilities of women, but within the setting of this story, she is quickly shut down when experienced adventurers talk about the realities of the battlefield and what they've seen happen in their experiences in dungeons. And even the female characters in the manga often crap on this girl, telling them that what the male adventurers are saying is true, and there's no shame in a woman serving as the comfort wife of the party. I think that this read is going to be one that bores some, significantly pisses off others, but there will likely be a subset of people that find how interesting and different it is from the typical trappings of the isekai genre intriguing, and they may want to read more. So right now, if nothing else, I can say that this manga is different, but as we know, different doesn't always mean better. I hope you guys enjoyed this look at the deepest, most unknowable dungeon. If you read it, please tell me what you think. Let me hear some thoughts about this, because I know it's a divisive one. I thank you guys for your time and look forward to talking to you in the next video.